Hi everyone, today I'll be showing you how to solve some of the hardest SAT math problems using Desmos. So let's dive right in. So the first question here is a geometry question, and a very similar one to this showed up on the May SAT, and it stumped a lot of people. So here I'll show you how to do it. So it says an isosceles right triangle has a hypotenuse length of 58 inches. What is the perimeter in inches of this triangle? So first, a isosceles right triangle looks something like this. It has these two lengths, these are the exact same, and this here's the right angle. So this means that because this side and this side are the same length, and this is 90, these two lengths here must be equal, and they must also add up to 90, so they must both be 45 degrees. So this means that this is a 45, 45, 90 triangle, which is a special right triangle where you already know the values of the sides. So the values of the sides are shown on the SAT reference sheet, this here, the x here, and x square root of 2. So you don't need to memorize it, but you just need to be able to recognize when to use it. So here you're given the x squared root of 2 is a hypotenuse with 45, 45, 90 triangles, and in the problem, it gives you the hypotenuse equals 58 inches. So x square root of 2 is equal to 58 inches. So this is one equation we use to solve. This first will give us the value of x and the value of all the side lengths, so then we can find the perimeter. And the perimeter is just the value of all of the side lengths. So it's just them all added up, so it just would be x plus 58. So just simplify, just 2x plus 58, and that would give us the perimeter. So those are the two equations we need to first plug into Desmos to figure out what the perimeter is. So first here, I'll plug in x square root of 2 equals 58. So this gives me the answer, and here I just zoom out here, and I see that I can just hover over it and see that, okay, it's 41.01219. So this is one way to solve for it. Another way, which is actually much easier, is to do something called a regression. So regression basically has Desmos solves the problem for you. So what you do is you change the equal sign into a tilde, which is in the top left corner, usually on your keyboard. And if there's an X or a Y, you always change those to X1 or Y1. So Desmos knows you're not trying to graph something, but you're solving for something. So X change to X1, and then you get the exact same answer. So this gives me the value of X1. And now I can just plug this into the equation, and I can get the perimeter. So 2x1 plus 58, and that is equal to 140.024. So now I see that the answer choices are not also they're not in decimal form, they have radicals in them. So I need to see which one of these answer choices is equivalent to 140. So you can first see that 29 square root of 2. Square root of 2 is less than 1. So I know that 29 times something less than 2. So 29 times something less than 2 is still less than 140, so it can't be that one. B, 58 times square root of 2. Once again, 58 times something less than 2 is still less than 140, so it can't be that one. And then down to these two, what I would do here, I would just plug each of these into Desmos to see what values they come out with. So 58 plus 58 square root of 2 is equal to the exact same thing, so that would be our answer. But just to double check, 58 plus 116 square root of 2 is equal to 222, which is not the same as the perimeter, so that is not our answer. So the correct answer here is C. Okay, now for the next problem. Okay, so a function is defined by g of x equals x times x minus 2 times x plus 6 squared. The value of g of 7 minus w is 0, where w is a constant. What is the sum of all possible values of w? So this problem looks very complicated, but it's actually not very hard. So first thing you need to do is see that, okay, so it's saying g of 7 minus w is equal to 0. So basically g of x equals 0. So 7 minus w, this basically needs to equal x, the x value here, when it equals 0, which is actually just the x-intercept. because the equation here is in factored form, it basically gives us all the x-intercepts. So we set this x out here to 0, so x equals 0 is one of our x-intercepts. X minus 2 equals 0, so then it's also 2, and then x plus 6 equals 0, and that means negative 6 is our other 0. Okay, so then now what we need to see is what values of w give us these numbers inside the parentheses. So g of 7 minus w equals 0. So I know first x has to equal 0 in here. So one value w must be 7 because 7 minus 7 is 0. So w equals 7. It could also, x also has to equal 2 for this. So g of 7 minus what equals 2. So 7 minus 5 equals 2. So 5 must be another one. And then also negative 6. So 7 minus what equals negative 6. 7 minus 13 equals negative 6. So 13 is our other possible value of w. And here it's asking for the sum of them. So what I would do is just add 7 plus 5 plus 13, and I would get 25. So our answer here is 25. It's the sum of all possible values of w. Now for the next problem. So it's saying that 1 gallon of stain will cover 170 square feet of surface. A yard has a total fence area of w square feet. Which equation represents the total amount of stain, S in gallons, needed to stain the fence in this yard twice? So this equation doesn't give us the length of the yard, the area of the yard, sorry, but it does give us that it's W. So 1 time would be W, 2 times to stain the fence would be 2W. So you know that 1 gallon of stain will cover 170 square feet of surface. So to figure out how many gallons of stain needed, it would just be the area over the fence divided by how many square feet 1 gallon is. So the area would be 2W because you're going around the fence 2 times, and how much the stain covers, 1 gallon of the stain covers, is 170 square feet. So you would just simplify this and get W over 85, which is D. Another way you can think about this is very simply that the total area of the fence is W. So just say, for example, the fence is 2 square feet. If it's 2 square feet, you should be using very little gallons. You should be using like 1/85 gallons, somewhere around there. So if you see plugging to 340, you can eliminate that because it's not that big. Also B2, you can eliminate that. And now you're just left A and D, and then you can just do this strategy here and get the correct answer. So now for the next question here. Okay, so this question is saying that in the equation, A and B are positive constants, and the sum of the solutions to the given equation is k times 4a plus b, where k is a constant. What is the value of k? So, first thing you need to know before you solve this is the sum of the solutions. So the sum of solutions is equal to negative b over a. So this is something you just have to memorize, and you just write x squared plus bx plus c. That is this equation in simplified form. When you just distribute the x and combine everything, this is the equation here. So this here is a, that's in the denominator, and this is the b, which negative b up here in the numerator. There's also the product of solutions, so product of solutions, and that is equal to c over a, which is this c right here and this a right here. And these are very useful in the SAT. A lot of difficult questions utilize these, but if you memorize these, it'll make the problems a lot easier. So to get into this problem, it's basically telling me that the sum of the solutions is equal to k times 4a plus b. So this means that negative b over a is equal to k times 4a plus b. So this is a right here, because remember ax squared plus bx plus c, so ax squared plus bx plus c. So A is 64, so that means that it is 64, and then negative b. So b here is negative 16a is negative times 16a plus 4b, which because it's negative b, that negative basically just cancels out, so it's just 16a plus 4b plus 4b, and then this is equal to the k times 4a plus b. So this here, now what I'll do is I'll just plug this in Desmos and solve it using a regression once again to get the answer. So what I would do is 16a plus 4b and then over 64. And remember, regression, use the tilde, which is in the top left of your keyboard. It looks like this. And then is equal to k times 4a plus b. So this gives us the value of k, which is 1, but this is actually not the correct answer. So it's saying that when a is equal to negative 0.25, b equals 1, and k equals 1. But this needs to be true for all values of a. So what I need to do is you need to set a equal to in a bracketed list like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then this would actually give me that k is equal to 0.0625, which is the correct answer. So another way you could write it is just write 0.0625, and you hit this fraction thing on the side, and Desmos will convert it to a fraction. So the correct answer here is 0.0625 or 1/16. Either one of those would be accepted, so just do whichever one you're more comfortable with. So now for the next question is one of the two equations, sorry, let me delete this first. Okay, it is one of the two equations in a system of linear equations is given. The system has no solution. Which equation could be the second equation in the system? So this is not too difficult of a problem, but it takes a long time without Desmos. And with Desmos, it's a very fast problem. So it's asking for the other equation, which has no solutions with this one. So that means that they're both parallel lines. So they would look something like this. They would never intersect. So what I would do is I would write this one here in Desmos, and I would write each of these for right here in Desmos and see which one never intersects this one. So what I would do here is write in the 3x equals 36y minus 45, and this is the line. Hit the home button and it moves it back to the middle, and this is the line here. So first I would plug in x equals 4y. See that that intersects right here, so that cannot be the answer. So next, 1/3 x equals 4y. See, this looks parallel, but always make sure to zoom out and check like a little bit past. See, it's also parallel, looks about the same distance, so this is most likely the answer, and I'll leave it up here for right now. And we'll just double check all the other ones to make sure that this is the correct answer. So x equals 12y minus 15, and then go back at the home button, and then I'll turn that one off. You see that you can't see the green one, which means that these are actually the exact same equation, so these have infinite solutions, so this must also not be the correct answer. And then the only other one is 1/3 x equals 12y minus 15. This here clearly intersects right here, so this also cannot be the correct answer. So you're left with b here, which is a parallel line, so your correct answer here is B. Okay. And thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more SAT prep and more videos to help you out. And please comment below if you have any questions about any of these problems or have any problems you want me to explain.